Hello, story lovers, and welcome back to our channel. Today we have a wonderful and magical tale for you, inspired by a classic story we all know and love. So snuggle up, get comfortable, and let's dive into the world of Ben and the Magic Vine. Once upon a time, nestled by rolling green hills, there was a small wooden cottage where a kind-hearted boy named Ben lived with his loving mother, Martha. They didn't have much, but they had their cow, Daisy, who gave them fresh milk every morning. But one summer a quiet sadness fell over their little home. Daisy stopped giving milk, and soon their pantry was empty. One morning, with a heavy heart, Martha turned to Ben. "Ben, my dear," she said with a sigh, "we have no food left. Please, take Daisy to the market. We need you to sell her for a good price so we can buy some food." Ben felt a lump in his throat as he hugged Daisy goodbye. He gently took her rope and started down the dusty road toward the market. The sun was warm, and the birds were singing, but Ben's heart felt heavy. Along the way he met a cheerful old man whose eyes seemed to sparkle with mischief. "Good morning, young fellow," the man said with a warm smile. "That's a very fine cow you have there. I'll tell you what, I'll trade you for something even better, these 5 magic beans." Ben's eyes widened with curiosity. "Magic beans?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. The old man nodded eagerly. "Oh yes, plant them tonight and I promise you'll see wonders beyond your wildest dreams," he said, giving Ben a playful wink. The thought of magic was too exciting to resist. Ben's sadness was replaced with a thrill of adventure. He agreed to the trade, handed Daisy's rope to the old man, and clutched the 5 small beans in his hand. He raced home, his heart pounding with excitement, eager to show his mother their newfound treasure. But when he burst through the door and showed Martha the beans, her face fell. "Magic bean!" she cried, her voice a mix of anger and disappointment. "Oh, Ben, you silly boy. You gave away our only cow, our last hope, for a handful of nonsense?" In her frustration, she snatched the beans from his hand, threw them out the window into the garden, and sent poor Ben to bed without any supper. Ben lay in his bed, his stomach rumbling and his heart aching. He felt foolish and wished he had never met the old man. But as the moon rose high in the sky, a strange, gentle glow began to fill his room. He crept to the window and looked outside. What he saw made him gasp. A giant, shimmering vine had sprouted from the very spot where his mother had thrown the beans. It twisted and grew, reaching up, past the trees, past the hills, and disappeared right into the clouds. Its leaves were a brilliant green, and golden flowers sparkled like stars under the moonlight. "It must be the magic," Ben whispered to himself, his earlier excitement returning tenfold. He knew what he had to do. Without a second thought, he slipped out of his cottage, grabbed hold of the sturdy vine, and began to climb. He climbed higher and higher, the world below him growing smaller and smaller. The air grew cooler as he passed through the soft, fluffy clouds. When he finally reached the top, he found himself in a land unlike any he had ever seen. In front of him stood a massive castle, with doors so tall they seemed to touch the sky. Everything was enormous. The flowers in the garden were as big as trees, and the pebbles on the path were the size of boulders. With a deep breath, Ben tiptoed inside the castle. The sweet, delicious smell of freshly baked bread filled the air, making his stomach rumble even louder. But suddenly the ground began to shake with a thunderous sound. Thump, thump, thump! A deep, booming voice echoed through the halls. "Fee-fee-fo-fum! I smell the scent of a little one." Ben's heart leaped into his throat. He quickly scurried across the giant kitchen and hid behind a loaf of bread that was bigger than he was. A huge giant stomped into the room. He had a great bushy beard and wore boots the size of small boats. Following him was his wife, Milda, who had a much gentler look in her eyes. Now, calm down, dear," Milda said softly. "You're always imagining things. There's no one here." The giant grumbled and sat down at his enormous table. His dinner was a feast fit for, well, a giant. There was a whole roasted chicken, a loaf of golden bread, and a pudding as big as a barrel. Ben watched wide-eyed from his hiding spot. After the giant finished his meal, he brought out his most prized possession, a beautiful golden hen. He placed it on the table and commanded, "Lay," and to Ben's astonishment, the little hen laid a perfect shiny golden egg. The giant chuckled, pleased with his treasure. Soon the huge meal and the warmth of the room made him drowsy. His head began to nod, and before long he was fast asleep, his snores echoing like thunder through the castle. Seeing his chance, Ben crept out from behind the bread. Moving as quietly as a mouse, he tiptoed to the table, gently scooped up the golden hen, and tucked it under his arm. He didn't dare look back. He ran out of the castle, back to the vine, and scrambled down as fast as he could. He burst into his cottage, breathless and excited. "Mom! Mom! Look what I found!" he cried out. Martha, who had been worried sick, couldn't believe her eyes. The golden hen was real. Just as Ben said, it laid a golden egg every single morning. Soon they had more than enough money. They bought food, new clothes, and repaired their little cottage. They were happy and comfortable, all thanks to the magic vine. But as the days went by, Ben's sense of adventure began to stir again. He often looked up at the sky, wondering what other treasures might be hidden in the giant's castle. What else could be up there? He wondered aloud one sunny afternoon. His curiosity got the better of him. He decided he had to go back one more time. So he climbed the great vine once again, his heart a little braver this time. He slipped back into the giant's castle, moving even more quietly than before. This time he saw something even more amazing. In the corner of the great hall stood a magnificent harp made of pure gold. It wasn't just beautiful, it was magical. All by itself, it played the most enchanting, sweet music that filled the entire castle. Ben was mesmerized. He knew he had to bring that beautiful music back to his mother. He waited until the giant was out of the room, then tiptoed over to the harp. But as soon as his fingers touched it, the harp cried out in a loud, clear voice, "Master! Master! Help! Someone's taking me!" The giant came crashing back into the room, his face red with fury. "Fee-fee-fo-fum! I smell that boy again, and this time he won't get away," he roared. Ben grabbed the harp and ran for his life. He could hear the giant's heavy footsteps pounding the floor right behind him. He reached the vine and started to scramble down, clutching the talking harp tightly. The giant was surprisingly fast and began to climb down the vine after him. The whole vine shook violently with the giant's weight. "Mom! Mom! Get the axe!" Ben shouted as he neared the bottom. Martha, hearing the terror in his voice and seeing the giant descending from the clouds, didn't hesitate. She grabbed the axe from the woodshed. As soon as Ben's feet touched the ground, he and his mother began to chop at the base of the massive vine. Chop, chop, chop. With one final swing, the vine snapped. There was a tremendous crash as the giant and the magic vine came tumbling down from the sky. They fell so far and so fast that the giant disappeared into the clouds, never to be seen or heard from again. From that day on, Ben and his mother lived a happy and peaceful life. The golden hen provided them with all the riches they could ever need, and the magic harp filled their home with joyful, beautiful songs day and night. Ben learned many lessons from his adventure, but most of all he never forgot that a little bit of courage and a little bit of kindness can lead to the most wonderful and unexpected things. And that, my friends, is the story of Ben and the magic vine. If you enjoyed this magical tale, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to share it with your friends. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you won't miss our next storytime adventure. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.